Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. Hey guys, Mickey with Carry Trainer and the Higher Line podcast, and I am in sunny Texas. And I'm with my buddy who's back here laughing his ass off because that's what we do. We're in Lago Vista, and this is my good friend Kirk Lindstrom.
Howdy.
Who, God, I've known you, we've been talking over 20 years, and I, for years, have wanted, since we started the podcast, to have one with him. And a little backstory. So, construction worker, you've worked out in the woods of, like, the great Northwest, right? You've
Panhandle, Idaho.
You lived off the Priest River, off grid, pulling your water out of the river and making babies out there, chickens running around in the forest.
Fires.
You were fighting forest fires out there. You were a vineyard owner, a grape connoisseur. You're the son of a pretty renowned Chicago architect.
Designer of Pizza Hut.
Yeah, the designer in the Pizza Hut, right? Yeah. Yeah, but your dad knew some shit. You've kind of you're like the unassuming, and it's not an insult, like the unassuming smartest dude I know. You've got like
I'm in trouble.
Like, I remember learning one time from you, and I'm gonna shut up here in a second, like the word vinifera. We're on a hunting trip and you talked to me all about the different varieties of wine grapes and what they mean, and this is before the internet is what it is. But anyway, we're down here, and so Kirk recently was diagnosed with a rare Parkinson's type of disease that's making it hard for him to speak, and you might see him wipe his mouth. So we're not drunk out here. He's just not yet. but
we got to get into those vinifera.
We're going to get into the vinifera. Yeah, I wanted to share some stuff. So I don't know where to begin. You grew up on the west side of Chicago?
In Wheaton, Illinois.
Wheaton, all right.
That's the home of Wheaton College.
Which was a dry town back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a Bible school, right?
Yeah, Billy Graham graduated from there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and his son.
And at some point...
And John Belushi grew up there, too.
Oh, I did not know that.
And Robert Woodward.
Did not know that either.
I watched Robert play tennis at Northside Park.
Was he a Navy pilot in real life?
No, he was. I don't know what he did. He's the one that Bernstein and Woodward.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking of the wrong person.
Yeah.
So you went to private school, Catholic school.
Yep.
We got to jump into that one story later about the priests and the naked boys on the pool deck. It's a real story. He's going to tell it here. There's no statute of limitations on that stuff as far as I'm concerned. But you've had like this crazy quest in the time that I've known you, and I'm assuming your whole life, for knowledge.
I like knowing stuff.
I remember one time you told me that your favorite time in life, and maybe it's different now, maybe you said like this was a favorite time, was when you and Jean, your wife, had that home that you built off grid in the woods. You said, my favorite time was sitting reading books with my wife by oil lamp at night.
Yep.
Talk about that time.
In the winter. Well, when it was winter up there, nobody did anything but go to the bar or stay at home. We did a little bit of both before we had kids.
Yeah.
But we just sat down and read.
Keep going. Don't stop.
Well, the sun went down at, like 4:30. It got dark, and so you turn on the kerosene lamp and read, because we didn't have electricity, and all the radio stations shut down, so we just sit and read.
How did you end up there? So go back a little bit.
Oh, God.
Go back a little bit. So at some point you guys were on the west side of Chicago, right? Did you live in
I lived in Wheaton, and then I left Wheaton.
What part was your dad from?
Austin.
Austin, okay, like over by Oak Park, right?
Yeah, 8 miles out of the city, yep.
Does One of the most famous bluesmen ever fit in that story, if I remember something. Didn't you guys have Muddy Waters somehow?
Oh, no. Yeah, Muddy lived, when I was a carpenter, one of the guys, what was his name, Dino, Italian guy, he goes, I got this, I'm not going to use the word, living behind us, and he never shuts up. He plays this music, I don't know what it's, I think they call it blues, and he waits till about 11 o'clock, and then they start playing, and they go all night.
So
I called the cops on him.
Muddy Waters was his neighbor?
Lived behind him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, in Villa, no, what was it?
You guys watching? Sorry
Villa
for
Park.
the solo camera work here.
Villa Park.
That was in Villa?
Yeah, I think so.
So, you at some point leave. How did you end up in Idaho with her? I want to hear the story. I want to hear the story about how you met your wife. That's one of my favorite stories. Maybe one of my favorite stories of all time. Not just your stories.
Well, I went out to Idaho. I went to Missoula, Montana.
Okay.
Did a bunch of crazy stuff there.
What were you doing in Missoula?
Oh, nefarious things. Into Chicago.
Like what? What were you getting into in Missoula?
Well, I don't want to talk.
I mean, like criminal shit?
Well, somewhat. not violent.
Keep going.
But and that fell apart. And so I moved.
What was Missoula like? So what is this, like 72, 73, 74?
71.
71. What was Missoula like then? Because now it's like
college town.
Okay.
And it was college town and then a cowboy town. And they had a lot of gambling, a lot of drinking, and a lot of drugs. And I saw Chuck Berry play in a classroom in the university.
So out at the college there?
At the college.
Chuck Berry. What the hell was Chuck Berry doing up in Missoula, Montana?
I have no idea, but I saw him there.
So he just played for a group of students?
Yeah, they had the drummer and the bass player were students, and Chuck Berry was giving him such a hard time. He went over to the drummer, and the drummer wasn't matching what he expected him to do. So when he was supposed to hit the cymbals, Chuck Berry took his guitar and where the tuning pegs were, and hit the cymbal with the tuning pegs when they were supposed to.
One of the fathers of rock and roll.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So you're up there getting into mischief.
Well,
was that when you were doing firefighting, forest firefighting?
No. I left Missoula, went to Seattle with a girl named Ruth, and then
that sounds like a blues song or a country song right there. Went to Seattle with a girl named Ruth.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you. Well, Ruth was a piece of work, but we started falling apart in Seattle.
Your relationship.
Yeah, so we decided to break up. We were going to hitchhike back to Missoula. I told her I was going to stay in Missoula, but I was going to go to Chicago. We left in February.
This is 71?
Yeah, no, this would have seen 70.
70.
Oh, well. No, 71. February. Got up on Snoqualmie about 11 o'clock at night. Snow, it was awful. And
Snoqualmie is a pass or
a pass.
Yeah, I think I've been through there.
Yep. And we were hitchhiking. Having a girl with the hitchhiking is a plus, because you get more stops, more people stopping, more single guys stopping. And so we were looking for a place to crash because it was late. And she was out hitchhiking. I was looking for some place to dig a hole in the snow.
So you're saying place to crash. I'm not talking about finding like a cot or a house. You're going to go make a shelter in the woods.
Yeah, someplace we can lay down and cuddle up and stay warm.
And not die.
Yeah. And then get going the next day. And she was out hitchhiking, and all of a sudden, 2 cars stop about an equal distance from where we at. And we chose 1 car. And for me, that was the most defining moment in my life, because I could have went one way or the other. If I would have picked the 1 car, I would not be here right now talking to Mick. And I wouldn't have my family. I wouldn't have anything that I have now. But we chose another one, a different one. And we ended up in Spokane about 3 in the morning. Yeah, about 3 in the morning. And we walk in, and there's a guy. The guy that picked us up was a biker who had a steel leg because he lost it in a motorcycle accident.
Is this funny to you?
Oh yeah, it was. Well, I go, what the hell, man? How do you drive this fucking thing? Because it was a '57 Chevy with a 3 on the tree. And oh man. So we get home to his house in Spokane, and there's a guy sitting there, long hair, beard, like in his 30s, smoking a cigarette with his legs crossed. And his name was Dave. I said, I'm going to bed. I went right in there, and he had a cot for us. I went to bed. Ruth stayed up and talked to Dave all the rest of the night. I woke up, came out, she goes, say yes, say yes. And I went, what? She goes, yeah, Dave wants us to come up and live with him. And he's going to give you a job, and we're going to work for him. And I said, okay. I thought maybe I could take her up there. She could hook up with him, and I could
So you're pawning off your girl.
I could get out of there. So we go up, and we end up in Priest River, which is 60 miles northeast of Spokane. Well, long story short.
This is way up in the top of Idaho.
Yeah, 60 miles from, or 40 miles from the Canadian border. Dave turns out to be a translator of Russian scientific journals. He went to Haverford College, and he translated Russian physics. And he sat at a little desk in the cabin that we were in and typed all day. And then he put them in a manila envelope and sent them back east. And my job was to get firewood, split it, and keep the cabin warm at night. That was my job.
Well, this was 71, so you were 20 years old?
Yeah, I was 20. I turned 20 up there.
Okay.
Yep, and it got really weird.
How so?
Well, Ruth and him, I found out later that she reminded him of his first wife, Polly, and he loved Polly, and Polly ditched him, and every woman he went with looked like Polly or someone like Polly, because I met Polly later. And I went, oh, yeah, that's why. And he's crazy because I believe he was translating stuff for the CIA because it was really obscure, long books that came from Russia directly to him. And then he translated them. And they were just weird books, or they were physics from Russia that were just so obscure. And he got paid a lot of money to do it.
Okay.
But oh well.
So you're just out in the woods all day, chopping and stacking and splitting.
Yep, that's what I was doing. And in the interim, more people started moving up on the mountain we're on, Gold Cup Mountain. And this is the Meet Gene story. We had goat herders up there. I had 2 pointers that would chase the goats.
German Shorthairs?
Yeah. My buddy had a Labrador that was part of the gang. He was the leader of the pack. He got shot and killed.
Your friend or the dog?
The dog.
Okay.
My dogs were with him when he got shot. They ended up not coming home, but going up to Stephen Rick's place. There are 2 cabins up there, 2 guys with wives. And mine went under Rick's cabin. I had to crawl underneath his cabin to get the dogs out. And I was kicking their ass. So pissed off.
To try to get them out?
Well, yeah, and then, for chasing goats. And I pulled out the dogs, and I turned around, and there's 4 girls, high school girls, standing there watching me beat my dogs. And one of them was my wife.
So she was attracted to some crazy...
Well, she came up there. Rick's sister, high school sister, was Gene's friend.
Okay.
She brought them up for spring break. So yeah, there she was. And I saw her. I said, "That's mine."
Really? You
Yeah.
had that defining moment?
Yep, I did.
Do you remember like in the melee of yelling at dogs?
I remember her look. My eye contact. It was really weird.
Like a little electric
Things
bolt.
like that happened to me. Like things like very defining things that I didn't recognize at the time they happened. But they've been with me my whole life. That very specific the thing that happened. Very interesting.
So then what happened?
We got married.
How soon later? I mean, she was only like 17 or 18 at the time?
No, she went home. Then she came back in the summer.
Okay.
Then we shacked up. We started shacking up.
By that you mean reading scripture and praying and...
Yeah, that too.
So you guys decided to stay up there on that mountain?
Yep, we
You
did.
built a cabin out there? You
Yeah,
bought
we
some
built-
property?
No, we actually, our friend just said, Joe Lennon said, just, hey, build it here. He had 20 acres up there.
Okay.
So he just gave us a little piece of land and we built it. And we just stayed there.
Did you have any carpentry skills then?
No,
No? Because you became a
Well,
really
I
good
had-
carpenter later.
I had somewhat, because I worked for my dad on projects in Illinois, but I wasn't like super skilled.
Let's go back a step. Dad. So your mother's still alive. She's 90 what? 97. Lovely lady. I have a memory of his mom. She was probably about 80 at the time, I would guess. The property that you guys all lived on near Chicago, you had cherry trees, I think, or plum or
So
something.
we had apples, cherries.
She must have been a cherry tree.
Yeah.
I think it was cherry. Your mother at 80-something years old was up in the tree picking, and I don't mean like this high off the ground. She was up in the tree, and I went out there and I was like, whoa, let me hold the ladder or
Yes,
something.
Gloria.
Yeah, she's like, I don't need your help. I'm fine. But talk about your dad a little bit.
Well, he was a West Sider, grew up in Chicago, a Marine, Iwo Jima vet.
Was he awarded the Silver Star on Iwo Jima?
He had a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, and Navy Cross.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All from that?
Yeah, all from Iwo Jima. And then he came home, met my mom. He had the same thing I had. He said the moment I saw her, I knew she was going to be my wife. And then he went to Illinois, University of Illinois, got his architectural license there. He became an architect and a builder, designer, structural engineer, landscape architect. And he did that till he died. He drew every day.
His drawings, which I was privileged to be able to see a bunch of, this is before AutoCAD and Chief Architect and all those things.
Yeah.
This was artwork, hand drawing the details of moldings and plants
crazy.
and what the flowers are going to look like and all of that stuff.
Crazy.
So you grew up around that.
Yeah. I can remember drawings when I was 2 years old. I used to go up on his, he used to do it in the apartment we were in. And one day I got it and I started drawing on his drawing.
Is it like a 2-year-old?
Yeah, with a pencil. He freaked out. I remember that day.
I'm sure he did.
And then I killed his fish.
Yeah, there isn't just like print another one in those days. You had to start over.
No.
That's
It was crazy. But that's the way it was. He just worked his ass off. My mom stayed home, took care of us, and he was just worked. That's what he did.
Did he talk about his time in the Marine Corps? No. Never? Not a once?
He'd talk maybe about a minute. And he'd just say, you don't want to ever experience what I experienced, ever. And that's about it. He never described anything. Not, like it was over here. He just said, you're never going to want you. Don't ask me about it because I can't tell you. It was awful. That's about all he'd say.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, well, pretty true.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't like it. He had PTSD really bad. Really bad.
What'd that look like from your recollection?
Well, screaming at night, waking everybody up in the house. Fighting, hitting my mom, while he was sleeping. Grinding his teeth down till they were
He wouldn't
gone.
be like hitting your mom
Consciously.
coming home, beating on her. He would be asleep,
sleeping.
flailing around is what, just want to make sure people understand that.
Yeah, and then he ground his teeth until they were gone.
Hmm.
He didn't have a tooth in his mouth.
Really?
He had dentures.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was weird. I remember the day he came home after they pulled all the stumps out. He was in bad shape.
How old were you?
About 8.
Okay, so he was a pretty young man.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think he ever, was he a part of like American Legion or VFW or anything?
Yeah, he was. He knew the president of the Legion.
Hmm.
Yep, he did some work for him, design work.
Let's go back up on that mountain for a minute. So you guys just started like dragging 2x4s up on the hill or what?
For what?
That house.
On Gold Cup?
Yeah, how did you build a house up in the middle of nowhere? You had no power out there, right?
Well, we had mills. No, we didn't. We hand sawed
So swoompa.
and chainsawed.
Chainsawed, yeah.
Yep. And we had lumber mills by our place.
Okay.
And there was God, I can't remember the name of it. There was a stud mill. And they just made, framing studs. And we took their garbage away and used their garbage, the stuff that they were going to burn.
Just chopped out good bits.
Yep.
What'd that look like? You two just sitting up there with hand saws and...
Well, no, I had some friends that helped us. I had a couple buddies who helped us do it.
How long?
To do it?
Yeah.
Well, it was only 10 by, there's a 1-car garage.
Okay, so this is
It's like about this, a little bit bigger than the gazebo.
than the pergola there. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're talking like a big shed.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well, 2-story.
2-story?
Yeah, bedroom upstairs and a kitchen downstairs.
And then you had a wood stove in there?
A cook stove, yep, and a heating stove.
Okay.
Yep. We had an airtight, which is a cheap tin stove. Then we got an old, sorry about the hiccups.
You're okay.
Got an old cook stove out of Spokane.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing thinking about that old cartoon character that like drunk that would walk down the street and hiccup and say,
Yeah.
So you had 2 wood burning appliances in this tiny little structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
We needed it because there was no insulation.
So what was the sheeting on the outside?
So we went and tore down a garage in Spokane or in Sandpoint.
Okay.
We even pulled the nails and saved the nails
Wow.
and straightened them out and used them.
Sit there with like a brick and a hammer rolling them?
Yeah, but we didn't buy any nails.
Wow.
We used all used nails.
What did you pull off of there? Some siding?
Yeah, 1x6, 1x8.
Okay.
You know, just pine, rough sawn. That's what we used. I got the windows from a junkyard. No, I got the windows in Spokane. They were tearing down downtown Spokane along the river for the World's Fair that came there in '74. This was '72 or '3. They started demoing a year or 2 before, and they had old windows and everything. They were dirt cheap.
What did you do for the bathroom facilities? You guys dug an outhouse?
Yeah, we had an outhouse. Yep.
How was that in like February, January?
It sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't take me that long. I was pretty regular back then.
In and out, in and
Yeah.
out. What did her parents think when they found out their daughter was living in a frickin' garden made with rusty nails up on the side of a mountain?
Well, Jean's folks were awesome. Her mother, me and my buddy went to Seattle so I could ask for her hand in marriage. And we got there, and I went in. We stayed there a day or 2. And I'd been living with her for about 6 months then. And I asked him for her dad very formally for her hand in marriage. He said, "Sure, we'd be proud to have you." So then Dee, her mom, goes, I go, "Hey, Mrs. West, oh, call me Dee." I said, "Hey, Dee, me and Joe we're going to go to the train station. We're going to take a train back to Spokane." She said, "Oh, okay, that sounds like fun." So we go down to the train station, and she's dropping us off at the Amtrak. We go, no, take us to the freight yard.
Oh.
And she goes, "What?" She goes, "Come on." She goes, "You're going to take a freight train back to Spokane?"
Was your girl with you?
No, just me and Joe and 3 dogs.
So you guys, I know you've talked to me about you riding the rails before.
Yeah.
So you guys hopped a freight train
Yep.
and rode back.
To
That's
Spokane.
300 miles or something?
360.
Okay, so 360 miles.
One of the most beautiful train lines in the world. That is just,
I've driven along that route. That's
it's
gorgeous.
unbelievable.
Talk about that. You were riding the rails
Well, we bought a half-gallon of wine.
for the ride home,
For
of
the
course.
ride home. We just sat in the car with the door open with our feet hanging out, just drinking.
Was there any cargo in there, or was it
No, it was an empty car.
Okay.
He went to the yard guys and asked them what line. They were real helpful.
They actually helped you become a freeloader?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought that those guys like chased you and shot
Well,
you.
they used to, but they didn't. There's something that happened with that line that allowed us to do it.
Wow.
But they helped us. They told us what track, and they kind of just pointed out some empty cars. We just got on the board and took off. It's weird. It's beautiful though. It was a lot of fun.
What a difference now. I mean, of course,
God.
we're not suggesting freeloading on trains, but people have a cell phone, and you guys you had no idea if you were actually going in the right direction. You had no idea.
Well, we knew we were going
You
east.
knew you were going east, but you didn't know if this thing's gonna like veer off to somewhere else,
Or stop at every little town.
sure, or
pick
if
up
you were gonna
milk.
get different people that are gonna like come and beat your ass and
Yeah.
lock you up. So then, when you got back to Spokane, then what?
We hitchhiked out to Priest River.
So you had no wheels. How did you make money?
Odd jobs. I did a lot of like slashing, which was going up and cutting trees down for burning.
Okay.
Stud logging, where you cut down smaller trees off of like a company would go up there and buy a big set of timber, big like sale, 400 acres, 500 acres of all various sized trees. And the stud loggers would take all the smaller trees.
To zip them up into studs.
Turn them into studs. That's what we do.
How long did you guys spend up on that mountain?
We had Sarah up on that mountain.
That's your oldest.
Yep. And she was born in January.
So you guys found out you're having a baby, and you,
Yeah, Jean had to walk off that mountain.
9 months pregnant.
9 months pregnant, within 2 foot of snow,
Oh, God.
and I had to get her through 2 fences. That was fun. Stretching the barbed wire pretty far to get her through them.
How far a walk?
About a mile and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, downhill.
Downhill in the winter
Yep,
in a bunch of deep snow.
yep.
So maybe a little planning failure here. Huh?
Oh yeah, we didn't even think about it. We've been walking up and down it for years,
Think that has anything to do with these knee scars?
A little bit. That was the beginning.
How many kids did you have up there before you guys decided it was time to go back to civilization?
We had 2.
2?
Yep, Sarah and Melissa.
So for a little while, this is paradise. You guys are up there, kids running around the forest. You got
Oh, we moved down on the Priest River, and that was paradise.
Okay, I thought that's where this was. Tell me about that.
Well, we got hold of 33 acres with 1,200 linear foot of riverfront.
Wow.
Yeah, up near Blue Lake. It was gorgeous. Man, that was such a nice place. We're up on a little bluff, about 40 feet above the river,
Okay.
right at a turn. So the river came down, dug a big hole, and then went south.
Big fishing hole.
Yeah, it was sweet. Just beautiful.
So you guys pulled your water and fished out of there and bathed
Yep.
down there?
Yep.
What did you do in the cold months? Melt snow, or did you go chop a hole?
We had a hole down in the water.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had that that pool. Yeah.
So did you build that
Yep,
establishment?
I built that one.
So that was the one, I think. I didn't realize you had two different structures up in those
Well,
woods.
that was a log home.
So this was a more significant structure.
Well, I went and bought large tamarack, a small sale, that had been killed by some bug. They were all about 8 inches
Okay.
and long and tall. So they were perfect for a log home. And that place was about 16 by 25.
Okay, a lot bigger.
Yeah.
That was a mansion compared to the previous.
Yeah. That was a 2-story too.
What kind of log joining did you do?
I did chinking. I didn't do a Swedish scope. I did a chink, so I had insulation
Laid
between
between
the
them.
logs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
What'd you chink it with?
I used this dense fiberglass,
Okay.
and then put like limbs nailed in place
Okay.
between the logs.
So you took fiberglass, packed it between the logs, and then you cut like thin saplings
Yeah.
and just like laid like basically like a broomstick up against it and just beat it in there to keep critters from getting at the insulation.
Yep.
So the insulation was the air seal,
Yep.
and then that just protected the insulation.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. Just took some little nails and tacked it in. So you didn't have to use any kind of flexible, expensive
No,
caulking, or
I had no knowledge of that.
you were just being a little hill rat.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. So how many years did you guys spend there?
Dang, you're asking a lot of these.
It was a while.
Yeah, it was probably about 4 or 5 years.
So all the kids are born
Wait.
except Lauren?
No, it would be longer than that. We got out of there in 81,
Okay.
and we built it in 70, so about 6 years.
Okay. And still no electricity or running water?
No,
there? No
no.
plumbing?
Well, no, last year we had electricity.
Okay.
Yeah, last year we got electricity.
So something came closer down the road and you were
Yeah,
able
but
to...
they dropped it in for us for free.
Wow.
Yeah, they wanted us.
On the electric bill.
Yeah, they wanted us on cash.
How'd that change life?
We had a radio.
So it wasn't all of a sudden you had a blender and a toaster and all
No.
kinds of stuff?
Well, we had a coffee maker.
Okay.
That's about it. We didn't and a lamp.
Was it because you didn't have the money to buy a bunch of different stuff? Or was it...
Well, that, and we were used to living, with kerosene and stuff.
How did you keep food?
Well, we used to just buy what we needed and put it in a cooler.
So you guys just were working with coolers all the time?
Yep. I think in the cabin we did get a small fridge. I think we had a small fridge. You have to ask Jean this. She knows more.
But you were living pretty rustic, I guess.
Oh, yeah. We never... yeah.
What'd your family say back in Chicago?
They never really said much of anything about it. They just said it's Kirk. That's what he does. My dad's favorite question to me growing up for a long time was, "What are you, stupid?"
That was your dad's
favorite question.
That had to not feel too good.
After a while, you think, yeah, I am stupid.
Yeah.
So what the hell?
Do you know that he Probably just didn't know how to articulate himself in a better way to you. So you guys come out of there and you came back east.
Yep. Moved to Chicago. Stayed at my folks' house for a while till we found a place we could rent, and just kept doing it.
Is that kind of when you got into construction?
Yep. Sold the property in Idaho and just took up living back east again.
Did you ever see that land again? Did you ever visit it again in all these years?
We did 1 or 2 times.
When's the last time you were out there? 30 years ago or something?
Way longer than that.
We should go. You should send me the address. I'm going to go send you a picture on this next road trip.
I'll show you. I'll show you where it is on Google.
All right, I'll go check it out.
I can't remember the address, but it's a very distinct site where it is.
Okay.
It's real easy to find.
How did you get into growing grapes and making wine in northern Illinois, which is not a wine place?
I just went to a meeting, an agricultural meeting about growing, garden, making a garden, vegetable garden, me and Gene, because we did that up in Idaho a lot. And I went there and they had a little side thing on grapes, and it caught my attention. And then in a little while I was addicted. And that's what I did.
That was that was more than just a hobby, because that consumed thousands of hours of life.
It's a passion. Grapes are a passion.
I have fond memories of pruning in your vineyard, picking, watching you go through the process of the crushing and all the different, very specific processes.
And the people you meet and deal with, you're all very, very close, because you all suffer from the same addiction. It's a passion. It's ridiculous. It's so much. It's just so many love. It's just unbelievable.
Looking at a hummingbird right now as we're talking. I wish I could move the camera to show him. It's cool. Probably some of the stuff I've enjoyed most about knowing you is just all the different things that you have experience and wisdom on, and your attitude right now, like your situation with this illness. You're just like very, I want to say optimistic isn't the word, or accepting. You're just like almost indifferent to it. Like, well, I can't change this, so I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, it's a waste of time to do any of that.
Yeah.
You got to enjoy what time you have left, if you know it. And I focus on my family. My wife and my kids, my grandkids. That's important. And you, Mick. It's good seeing you, brother.
It's good to see you, too. So talk about maybe just, it's kind of a strange segue, but maybe not strange. What's some shit a guy like you's learned that like if you were going to write a book for your grandson, maybe, some shit Kirk learned in the last 60, 70 years?
Oh, man.
Just fire away. Let her rip.
You're putting me on the spot, man.
Well, you're on the spot. I've got a camera zoomed in on you. You know what? You know what I'm saying. Just you're full of knowledge on these topics.
Yeah, that's more.
And since there's a bunch of cold hopadillo over here, I'm gonna
more philosophy.
What's that?
It's more philosophy question.
You actually love. I probably learned more about the ancient Greeks and that side of the world. Would you consider yourself to be a Stoic? Do you subscribe to the Stoic philosophy?
No, I'm not a true Stoic. I am just a little bit. That attitude we just talked about is somewhat Stoic. But No, I'll talk to you and goof around a lot. But, I mean, the thing, you just have to be, I don't know how to put this now. You just got to do what you have to do, what you want to do. And just do it. Be free. Don't let things, don't get sidetracked.
When you say be free, do you mean like don't let other people stop you from like, I want to be a dancer. My dad will think it's stupid. I can't be a dancer.
Exactly.
So go become a dancer?
Exactly.
I'm assuming that you have some morality, so you're not going to, like, if I want to eat children, I shouldn't do that.
No. I was just going to say, as long as you're not hurting anybody. Well, I hurt my mom when I left because I didn't write back to the family because I was pissed at my dad. So don't be an asshole. That's very important because I was an asshole.
Were you talking when you're 19 years old?
Yeah, well, 17, 18.
You left home at 17?
Yeah, I was an asshole. And get out and travel. That's very important. You stay in one spot, you get too myopic, You don't see what's out there. Because you learn, everything that you do, you learn from. Everything. And the more you move around, the more you put yourself in different situations, the more chances you have of things happening to you in the positive. Like with me in that car situation when I was hitchhiking. My life is where it is because, 60 years ago or 55 years ago or whatever that was, I chose a 57 Chevy over a Volkswagen Beetle or a Volkswagen van. And I'm here with my family, my wife and kids and grandkids. It's amazing. That's all it is.
Do you think that was fate, or like the Latin? Was it amor fati?
Well, yeah, you can put that into it. You can read anything into it that you want.
What do you attach it to?
Yeah, I guess fate would be, if I was going to try and make it into something, it would be fate. But it just is what it is.
That's another way of saying fate. It just is what it is.
Exactly.
That's a 1980 stoner way of saying it right there, man. It just is what it is, man.
Oh yeah, I'm deep in that.
I'm just joking. You know what I'm saying, though.
No, man. I know what you're saying.
What would you tell 20-year-old Kirk, 18-year-old Kirk? If you could jump in some sweet-ass time machine and shoot back.
That's a good question. Watch out for herbicides and pesticides. Don't use them.
I guess on a serious note, that's a concern about what has you in your current medical state, right?
Yeah.
Exposure from the vineyard to that stuff. You don't know that for certain, but there's some research digging into
I would have said, you want to go back to Chicago? I'd say go to California, Northern California, and find a vineyard to work in.
You would have liked to make your life grapes.
Yep.
Being out there on the hillsides every day.
Yep,
you did love that.
That would have been awesome. But I'd have to have Jean.
Yeah. She wanted to be by family.
Oh, yeah.
Well, today, she just had all of her, not all of them, but a bunch of family here visiting you guys. So yeah, family is definitely important. It is for you too.
Oh, I love the West.
I've met all your brothers.
Yep.
I lived on your property at one point.
Yeah, you saw how we roll.
I've met and had dinner with your mother 100 times. I've been to your family's funerals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was at your grandma's funeral.
Yep.
So, you want to say it to her face now that she's out here?
Say what?
Nothing. That's
I
just
love you, honey.
nice.
I know, honey. We love each other.
We were talking about, he said that if he could go back, maybe he'd tell his 20-year-old self to get up to Napa, Sonoma, and get onto a vineyard and learn how to do the grapes, but he would have had to have you want to join him.
I probably would have joined him.
I think so too. If you guys were living,
I would have joined you, Kirk.
you guys could have been like gazillionaires, could have had some big fancy.
Yeah.
Really enjoys. He would have been a good farmer.
Yeah. You like being out there in the
Yeah, I like it.
jeans, grabbing the fly, salt, murder
Bugger
gun.
salt.
Don't point that thing at me.
She has no muscle discipline at all. She points at me all the time.
We're gonna have to give her a lesson on firearm safety. Talk about. I want to talk about your hunting dog. You had a lot of hunting dogs. I remember Sadie. She was a sweet dog. That dog's worth mentioning a story or two on. But talk about your experience with hunting dogs. You had a bunch of bird dogs, didn't
I
you?
had a Labrador, and then I had 2 mixed breed pointers. They were grouse hunters.
These were ones you were running up in the mountains.
And Idaho, yeah. They grouse hunted as though the dog chased the bird up in a tree and you shot it out.
You went. So you were kind of treeing them like a coon hunter.
Exactly.
Well, if somebody doesn't know how grouse work, that's what they do.
That's what they
right?
do.
They move and they go hide in the brush, or
Yep, or they fly up into a tree.
kind of like Bob White do. They go find a bush to bury themselves in.
Yep. Then I had my Labrador, was awesome. She would crawl out with me. I hunted a beaver pond on the Blue Creek, just north of my place on the river, Priest River. And we'd crawl out to a bluff overlooking the pond. It's about 5 foot above or 6 foot. And it had a little incline. And we'd crawl up. She'd get down on her stomach and crawl with me. And we'd come up and I'd jump shoot them, because there was always ducks in the pond. And they'd jump up and I'd shoot them.
What kind of shotgun were you running in those days?
I had like a featherweight 10 gauge, no, 12 gauge.
Okay.
With a barrel mounted choke on it.
Okay,
Yeah, the twist
what was
choke.
that called?
I can't remember. I got
poly choke?
yeah, poly choke.
Poly choke. I remember.
still have
those.
that weapon.
Do you really?
Yeah, I still got it. And if I missed a bird, the dog would sit there and look at me.
You son of a bitch.
Idiot. She'd look down at the water and then she'd look at me.
That poly choke that Kirk's talking about is literally a device with that you grab a knurled knob on the end and you could tighten it or loosen it and it would change the choke on demand.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to unscrew the choke tube. That was actually ingenious.
It is, yeah. Makes the gun look a little funky.
Yeah, it looks like a little donkey dick thing hanging off the
It
end.
does. Looks like the head of a penis.
But it was cool.
It worked really well.
Yeah, you could just like if all of a sudden you found that you had farther shots, you could just crank her in a couple cranks and yeah, I remember those. I remember a couple friends having those. You don't see those anymore. Going to some old gun shows maybe.
That one my dad bought in '55.
Okay.
And he gave it to me when I was 16.
So did you take it with you on that westward trip?
No.
No.
I came back home and got it.
Gotcha. You still have that man liquor? You don't have like a 6'5" Swedish or something?
No, I got rid of that.
No.
I got a 7x57, but that's a Venezuelan Mauser.
Okay.
That was my hog gun.
That's cool.
Yeah,
We should go hunting.
I can't do that.
You can. We can
I
definitely.
can't hold the rifle.
We'll set it up somehow on a tripod. All you got to do is pull the trigger. I could tie a string to the trigger,
Yeah, and I can just sit back and
yank that sucker. I think we could do it.
Oh yeah, that'd
I
be
think we
fun.
should set that up.
Oh, it'd have to be close.
Guns, we'll get them dope.
I mean, it'd have to be close. Stay here. Geographically.
I've got a friend with some hog hunting opportunities very
Oh,
close
yeah?
to here. I think we're gonna have to figure that shit out.
Oh, I love that.
Smoke that sucker right back here.
Ooh, it's tasty. Mm.
So, of all of the years I have heard you talking about stuff, there's no way that's all the life advice you got for a youngster.
Well, I don't.
I know that's hard to just spit that shit out.
It is. I'm not a. That's my MSA. I don't know, man.
You know what I see a lot of right now, and I wonder how it makes you feel with what you and Gene did the last 30, 40, 50 years. All these youngsters just glued to phone screens,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
not connecting. Something I always love about, which is like my family, but your family, big parties, big tables of
yep.
people, bowls of food and grapes and
Yep.
chips and nice wine and nice drink and people laughing until the frickin' stars came out, and then you'd mosey home or go crash on a.
We're really lucky.
Yeah.
We were really lucky to have that, to be able to do that. My dad, his houses that he designed for our family were all based in that.
So the house that I met you at was on the west side of Illinois in a little town called Elburn, which coincidentally as a young man I'd spent a lot of time in because my aunt and uncle, Janine and Bob, live right up the road, and my uncle's a badass carpenter. So you guys, your dad and you built this crazy, I don't even know, what would you call it, that style?
Well, it's based on the Japanese imperial residence, Katsura,
Okay.
and that's what the layout is.
So mom and dad had like a big house, sprawling, big open spaces, and then you had like porticos connecting you, and then like you had a common area between mom and dad's house and your house that was like a party room with a restroom and a kitchen.
Yeah.
Was Joe wood stove in there if memory serves?
There was a big,
And it wasn't all like a big straight line. Everything had cool angles and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you had your house, which is where you raised your kids for, what'd you guys, 20 years there maybe?
Yeah, 33 years.
33 years. You had multiple bedrooms, multiple floors,
Yep.
big open rooms, big great room,
Yeah.
glass all facing out.
Nice location.
Yeah.
We had a party there just before we sold that place. And it was for our niece, one of our nieces.
Okay.
And she was getting married. And so we just had a big, huge party. There was over 100 people there.
Oh, fantastic.
And they went from my house to remember the screen-in porch on the right side of my quote?
Mm-hmm.
There were different groups of people in every room of that house.
Having fun, laughing,
Yeah,
joking.
talking. And I took a walk through there. And the kids were all running back and forth through the house. And I walked through there. And every group was a different enclave of people talking about all kinds of different things. But I realized that that's what my dad's intent was, to be able to utilize every square foot and make it comfortable for people, no matter, damn these hiccups, make it comfortable for people.
It's kind of cute watching you do it.
Yeah.
That's actually something I've heard you talk about your dad a lot. I know you guys had some friction as young men, or when you were a young man and he was a younger dude. That house was amazing. I've tried to describe it to people, and that was before cell phones took great pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
But you helped build most of that, right?
I built it.
Oh, you built it. Okay. By then you were carpentry.
I was general.
Okay.
Yep.
That was like what, 10,000 square feet of total property out there?
Yep.
And what, 40 acres maybe?
33.
33. It was, and at that time, that was kind of the middle of nowhere when you guys first went out there. You were way out of town. And the city kind of came to you over the years.
38 had stop signs on
Yeah. Which, that's a fun road.
it.
Roosevelt Road, where they lived right off of. There's like history of like the mobsters running out there to bury bodies and hide loot. And if you stay on that, you go straight into downtown Chicago, but you're like cornfield. And now it's all grown up all the way that far west.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Really.
What were we saying? We were talking about.
You're trying to pull this philosophical thing out of me.
I'm not trying to pull, but that's funny. That's funny that you deduce that. I'm not trying to pull shit out of you.
No, I know. I can't. It's like Hunter being down in Fort Bliss and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I call up and I talk to him.
Hunter's your grandson, for everybody watching and listening.
And it's God. I just say be safe, take care of yourself. Don't be an asshole, you know?
I like that.
That's what it is. And then live and learn. That's all I did.
Do you harbor much regret or, live and learn's an interesting thing, because I think sometimes people, they make a mistake or somebody else makes a mistake and they carry that shit.
Well, yeah, and you can. And I was very lucky. I just didn't put myself in positions where that could happen.
Where you didn't need to feel?
Well, I didn't get, like, I hung out with some nefarious people, but I didn't do what they wanted me to do. You know, like, I hung out with a gang of guys in Missoula, and they said, come on, we're gonna go out to so-and-so place and steal some knives. I said, well, I don't want to go and do that. What are you, stupid?
You sound like your dad. That's what your old man told you.
Exactly. And I didn't go, and I didn't get caught.
Sure. Did they?
Oh, yeah. I mean, oh, God, they were so...
And back in those days, you didn't just walk away from stealing stuff.
No. They were morons. They went out, there was this knife maker, Rwanda, and he made the most beautiful knives, hunting knives. And the one guy but I can't remember his name, brought me out there to meet Rwanda. And he put me out in front of him, made me shake his hand, made me tell him my name a couple, 2 or 3 times. And then we left. Well, then he went and wanted me to go out and steal the knives from Rwanda. I said, no, hell no. You know, so I didn't do that, but within the next week, I found out that he was trying to set me up as a front.
Don't hang around assholes.
Well, yeah, he was trying to make Rwanda turn me in for the guy stealing the knife.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, I mean, it was ridiculous. It was really, that taught me, you can't trust anybody. It's really difficult.
That's true.
Yeah.
You trust your wife all these years.
Oh, yeah, well, there's perks with that.
You guys used to just walk around naked in the forest like wood nymphs.
No, only on the river.
when you were up on the river?
Yeah, only on the river. Well, the Ponderay River and the Priest.
That sounds magical.
It was fun.
If you could go back to a single day in your life, is there one of those? And I don't mean like to stay there, but like, is there like a spot you could just go hang out?
No, I got a lot of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do. I got a lot of them.
Sound off. Let's hear them.
Oh, God. Well, going down the mountain with Sarah in Jean's belly. That's one night I remember that I could do.
That was super fun.
Yeah,
Magical.
it was neat. Working in an elk hunting camp down in Wyoming.
Shit, I forgot about that. You guys, you were helping manage an elk camp and your wife was the camp cook, right?
Yep.
Damn. And that was like living in like cloth tents.
Oh, yeah, that was 16 miles back in the Grove Lawns.
So you guys
Horseback.
were like, you were pretty hardy people. So for you, that was
yeah,
just like whatever.
Yeah, it was nothing. It's
So she cooked the food for the guests and the rest of the crew.
in a Dutch oven.
And what were you doing all day?
I was getting up and wrangling the horses. And then I was going out, and I was the guy that had to butcher them out and get them back to camp, the elk.
So you were packing out the elk,
Yep.
maintaining. Are you a horseman?
I mean, not really.
But you could manage enough.
They were the guy that supplied the camp with horses was a unbelievable cowboy.
Okay.
Oh, that guy was unbelievable. And he knew exactly what type of horses to give. They were docile as hell. And they followed each other around. And there were some horses that were leaders and the rest were followers.
So this is in one of the times you guys are living in one of these houses you built during hunting season. You got a connection and went and worked a job?
Well, no, this was in Wyoming.
Oh, when the hell were you in Wyoming?
Actually, it was our honeymoon.
I forgot this story. You took your wife on your honeymoon to go cook for strangers. You son of a buck.
Oh, and then I pimped her out in the bars
Wait, what?
for dancing.
You're a piece of shit. So you made your wife on your honeymoon dance?
No, she wanted to dance.
Oh, okay. So you didn't pimp her out.
Well, no, I told the guys, I told everybody, my wife will dance with you, but you got to buy me a beer.
Oh, God.
That's why I got a beer every time she dances.
So you're liquored and she's all sweaty in the corner from dancing her butt off? That's funny.
It was fun.
So
It was a good trip.
So those two you'd go back to? You got any other ones?
Oh, yeah, Mount St. Helens.
Talk about that. I forgot you lived out there when she blew.
Yeah, we were in Seattle.
Oh, you were in Seattle?
Yeah.
You were not up on the mountain?
No, it was May 18th, a Sunday, and it blew. At 8:30, Chrissy was walking up the hill going, we felt it blow up in our room in Jean's folks' house. You heard it and felt it. And then Chris was coming up going, Mount St. Helens blew up.
That's your mother-in-law?
No, that's Jean's youngest sister.
Okay.
She goes, Mount St. Helens blew up. We went, oh, okay, okay.
You just thought she was full of crap?
No, we knew it was, well, it had been smoking for weeks.
Okay.
They'd been talking about it. But we went, okay. So we drive out, we get to Cle-Elum or Ellensburg, and it's dark, you can't see your hand in front of your face. And there's ash everywhere. And they stopped us in Ellensburg. And then they let us go on to Vantage. We ended up at Vantage on the Columbia River. And my two girls, we were in a Chevy love truck. It was Jean and me, Sarah and Melissa, 2 dogs in the back. And we got held up in Vantage. I put the dogs in the front seat. Jean and the 2 girls went into a bar that they were using for, for this occasion. And I went out. I got in trouble. I got all liquored up. I was watching dog fights.
So literally, it's like the end of the world for the people in the Pacific Northwest, and you went out and got drunk? That does not seem like good judgment, Kirk.
I know. And I was watching dog fights. And everything was covered in ash. And the dogs were all gray from ash, except when they were bleeding, it was black. It was so weird.
That is a little weird.
And there's all these guys just standing around in a circle, holding a beer, drinking, watching 2 dogs fight.
I think I remember this story.
Yeah,
You'd go back there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was interesting.
I have picked up and adopted this verbiage from you. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like your way of saying like it was some crazy shit.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Anywhere else you'd visit?
Oh, I don't know.
You loved Italy. Like I developed a love for the Sangiovese grape because of you. I didn't know shit about wine till I knew you, other than it was red and it's like vinegar, and that's about it. And you turned me on to the Sangiovese, which Chianti and and so you visited these places.
Yeah,
you love that shit. Like
yeah, I could do Italy again easy.
yeah.
I could live there.
What'd you love about it?
I love the whole attitude of the people, the culture. It was, the restaurants. Like, you're asking for your check and they won't bring it. They want you to just be there.
Just keep hanging out.
Yeah. And it's not for money. It's just, and some of them don't want to work. But they're so tied to the land.
You love people.
Yeah, I do.
Like you love that connection to people that want to be connected.
Yeah, to people. Yep. I guess, yeah. I guess you're right.
I've always noticed that about you. Why'd you stop?
I was just thinking,
What were you thinking about, Kirky?
Italy.
We should go.
Yeah, I should go.
We should go. I'll go to Italy with you.
I wish we would have done this about 2 years ago.
This discussion?
No, yeah. I'd be going.
Well, what's stopping you?
Oh, you have no idea my needs.
I'm strong.
Well, that's about 1/100th.
Are you saying that I have to give you bubble baths in Italy?
I'm gonna do worse. Way worse.
I'm glad that we're having laps.
Yeah. I wish I could swim like I used to.
Yeah, you were a competitive swimmer.
Yeah.
Which stroke? What was your
Butterfly and freestyle.
Okay. Freestyle this.
Yep.
Okay. And butterfly.
Yep.
You went to private Catholic school.
Yep, I did.
And I remember a story. What happened when you'd get in trouble in the pool swimming?
So, it's
Sorry
so
for the camera
fucking
angles
weird.
here. Say that again, sir.
So weird.
So when he says so weird, it means fucked up. So it's interesting means holy shit, this shit was crazy. It's weird means fucked up. That's the code word. Go ahead, sir.
Well, we were taught by Dominicans. They were priests that wore white robes. and they were like shepherd robes.
Oh.
Yeah, they were weird. And they had, when you went swimming in the school pool, all males, we all had to strip down naked.
How old were you?
Well, high school.
High school, not grade school, but high school.
No, high school. And if during the time that you were swimming, there was some discipline, something that would fall into them slapping your face outside the pool, would call for you having to get out of the pool, go to the side of the pool, and kneel down and start praying naked.
So there'd be a 16-year-old boy kneeling, butt in the air.
No, everybody.
Everybody. So if you screwed up, everybody got punished.
We had to pay. Yeah.
And you paid by saying your prayers, kneeling on the hard deck, naked.
On tile.
How long would that be?
Oh, about 10 minutes.
And then jump back in the pool and keep swimming, boys?
Yeah.
I'm sure this line of conversation is going to irritate some people, but I think people need to know these stories.
Well, it's true.
Did you ever tell
That's to your dad?
Oh, yeah, he knew that.
What did he say?
Well, that was acceptable practices back in the day. That's how most Catholic schools did it.
You swam naked and put your butthole in the air for the priest if you're freaking...
Especially for high school boys.
Weird, man.
Yeah. That was a good school.
You learned some stuff.
Yeah, you learned a lot.
Did you go to college?
No.
So that was like the, I don't want to say the epitome of your education because you read so much after, but that's where you like learned about Latin and Greek and...
Yeah, I learned how to learn. Their curriculum was set up in a specific way that taught you. It was a college course. It was based like a college. That's all I could think of.
It taught you to
probably teach yourself
Yeah, exactly.
how to go draw out the information.
They taught you logic. They taught you Latin. They taught you English, math, social studies. It wasn't called that though, and religion, and that was it. So it was very intense, very structured.
Did you ever get spankings?
Well, I'll tell you, my math teacher, the Italian guy, used to walk around the class. He had a 4-foot 2x4 that he clenched under his arm and held like this. And then he'd go up.
He pinched it like
Well, he just had it like under
a
his arm.
4-foot 2x4?
4-foot 2x4. And he'd walk by and he'd ask you a question, an algebra question. And if you weren't giving him it very quickly, he started bouncing the 2x4 off your head. So he'd drop it, bounce it, drop it, bounce it. So he's sitting there trying to figure out a math problem. And he was bouncing,
With a 2x4.
bouncing off your head.
Did anybody ever like ask him to stop or try to defend themselves?
No, he was a badass.
How old was he?
Like 30s?
Yeah, he would have been in his 30s.
Do you ever have any bad memories where you're like, I would love to see that man on the street?
No.
No? I would not, that would not have bode well for me. I would have been violent.
Everybody accepted it.
I would not have accepted that. I'm not saying I'm different or better. I just know if you'd have hit me in the head with a 2x4, I would
Not have been like,
yes, sir. Yeah.
Bounced it.
Whatever.
that's crazy. Would you put your own son in such a situation nowadays?
No.
No.
But back then, at that time, that happened in public schools too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They had paddles and stuff in public schools.
That's true.
So, and you go home, you get beat.
Right. If you, that on top of it.
Yeah.
Right.
You hear that you fucked up in school, they fuck you up at a different time.
I know you've been sitting here bullshitting for a long time. We've been talking well
Over an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I could talk to you 4 hours.
Oh, you got it. I'm not going to say it.
What are you gonna say? You gonna break my balls?
This is
What are you gonna say?
talking to a loser, man.
You're a loser?
Oh, no.
No, you ain't no loser. Why would you?
I'm just
I
kidding.
know you're joking.
I'm looking for sympathy.
No, you're not.
Gene, we need a sponge bath. You're not looking for no sympathy.
No, I'm just kidding.
You're definitely not a loser. You're a lot of things, but you're not a loser. I've had a lot of fun.
Fun with you over the years.
Yeah, it has been interesting.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I always ask people as we like wrap up these discussions, and this one was kind of like just a bouncing around story. You know, we didn't tell like a linear story.
Like on this day Kirk was born, on this day Kirk graduated high school.
I always ask people, remember the people that are like listening, watching,
Your own kids maybe that'll view this. What would you leave them with? If the person never saw you, never met you, you never crossed their path, what would you leave them with?
Man.
You
Just gotta be tough. Don't be a pussy.
What's that mean to you?
Get a job.
That's
Put down your pad.
Put down your pads?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Your pad, your iPad,
Oh,
your phone.
talk more about that.
Well, it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of life. I mean, you can learn a lot from it, but I don't know, you're like, it consumes. If the amount of time people spend on their pads now was getting educated and informed, that'd be one thing. But most of it's just all bullshit. It's bullshit.
what's not bullshit?
Well, you know, what information, you know, about things you want and need or have to do. Like I go on YouTube, I watch about fig pruning, and I figure out how to do figs. Or I go on YouTube and I watch grape growing or pruning, or, you know, that's information. But to go on YouTube and watch two big fat guys fighting.
So it's a lot of entertainment and unuseful.
You have 10 minutes and it's 5 o'clock.
10 minutes till 5 o'clock. The Nurse Ratchet's on us. We're done. Nurse Ratchet just said it's time to go.
But yeah, the pads are like, I don't even, TikTok and that. I mean, there's some genius stuff on there, I guess. But most of it's just bullshit. Waste of time. I'd rather just stare at the sky. Or, you know, up in the trees. Or watch birds.
I think that's missing.
What?
That
Oh, yeah.
that's missing. People they're not doing that. And that's, I mean, Emerson, right? That was like,
Yep, they're not tied into nature.
yeah.
And being tied into nature is real important. Very important.
Well, you spent the bulk of your life in it.
Yeah.
In the forest, on the rivers.
Yeah.
Even when we were just doing construction, you're usually out of doors.
Well, and that in construction is, what I love about construction is you work your ass off all day, then you stop, you turn around, and you see something that you did, that you've done, that's real, that's three-dimensional right there.
Mm.
And you get to walk away and come back and do it again. It's not you're not making up some shit and then, nothing to see that you're leaving.
Like, you mean like this, like a little video? I appreciate you taking the time to talk, man.
Well, I'm sorry I couldn't give you the what I think about.
But you did. But you did.
Well,
we'll see you again. We're going to figure out how to go on a hunting trip. Hunting. And I think I'm going to take you to one of them roadside massage parlors where they serve you sushi when you're done. That might be right up your alley.
we have to go to Elko.
Yeah, let's do it. You guys that joined, or if you're family or friends and you know Kirk, then badass. If you don't, I wish you did. Be well. I say don't be dickheads. You say don't be an asshole. I think it's about the same thing.
Well, yeah. Yeah, dickheads have a little more finesse to it.
Yeah, a little more.
Yeah,
Go fuck it yourself.
Assholes are assholes. Douchebags.
Douchebags?
Yeah.
Peace out.
Visit our website, carrytrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., Carry Trainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@carrytrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@carrytrainer.com or carrytrainer.com.